Hey guys, I just want to welcome you all to Next Level You podcast. Today we're going to be talking with Tania Flores, our Associate Editor at NexLevel. And this is kind of an insight of what it is that we do as we are coming together with our different articles, kind of a sneak peek into some of our conversations.
A fly on the wall.
A fly on the wall. That is
Yes.
really good. A fly on the wall. And Tania, thank you so much for joining us on today. So let's just kind of talk. And you know, it's so interesting. One of the things that I was thinking about on this morning, and I text you about it, which is kind of what happens when we
That
go
is exactly
into
the
these things.
thing that happens.
I was running across a message that I wrote to myself back in 2019 about Next Level. Before
Yes.
it even fully got into
I saw that.
right?
Those words came out.
The next level,
Yes.
yes. And I was telling myself, because at that moment in time, I was caught up in a whirlwind. My life was kind of in a whirlwind. And I felt myself kind of in a pit. But I was giving myself some notes on how to get out of that pit, how to get out of that whirlwind and take myself to the next level.
Right.
And it's so interesting just running across that note on today.
Today.
When we're recording.
There are no coincidences.
There are none. And we've had that moment and that realization over and over and over again.
We have.
And one of the things that I said to you today was, you always know what it is that you need to do because it's already inside of you. God gives you that innate wisdom to get yourself out of whatever situation you're in and manifest it. You're one of my manifestation partners. She is an absolute whiz at manifestation. And it really is something that you developed years ago.
I did.
You have found yourself in a whirlwind or in a pit, as we talk about quite often, and you begin to manifest coming out of that. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about that?
Well, a confluence of events happened to me, and I slipped into the pit, and I think that's how you get into the pit. You slip into it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't necessarily just wake up and have a big thing happen, and then it's a bunch of little things, and then you go into the pit. And so once I realized I was in the pit, which takes a while to realize you're even in the pit.
I agree.
Once I realized it, and I was in Half Price one day, and I heard God say, I need you back. And so I started relying on the sources that I had relied on before, Joyce Meyer and different devotional things.
You're big Joyce Myers. I'm a TD Jakes.
You are, yeah. They're the same person, really.
Yeah,
They're the same person. So listening to her and getting in the Word every day. And then I stumbled upon this concept of visualizing. And that plus affirmations kind of started to, plus the Word, kind of brings you out of that doldrums.
What type of affirmations were you doing at that time? Because I know some of the ones that I do now, but what type of affirmations were you using?
Well, they're based on scripture.
Okay.
Because anything in the Word you can have, any promises. So they were all based on that. I'm the righteousness of God in Christ. My children are all saved and married to blah, blah. Things that were not true.
Well, they weren't true. They weren't true.
My house is beautiful. It was falling down. My cars are new and they function perfectly. It was a jalopy. And then you just rely on,
and they begin to happen because one of the things that we talk about, we are big Neville Goddard fans.
We are.
And one of the things that we talk about all the time is when you are visualizing and when you are saying these affirmations, not delaying occupancy, not delaying getting it, at this moment as best you can, starting to live that thing.
100%.
Whether you're living it full or not, if you are seeing yourself free, begin to do things that represent freedom for you.
Yes.
Do not delay. Instead of waiting, I'm gonna wait until I get free and then I'm going to be free.
I can't wait for that day when I have a new car.
There you go.
You need to go test drive a car. You need to look at cars. Go to their
Create
website.
You a mood board.
Build a car at the GM whatever website. Build it.
Now you're going all the way.
Well,
that's cool.
At one point, I opened not an account, but I created an account at Neiman Marcus, and I would fill my cart up with everything I wanted from Neiman Marcus. Now, do I shop at Neiman Marcus now? No. But it all elevates your spirit. You can't rise up if you're just under the couch.
Yeah.
You gotta get out and try to.
And I think every last one of those actions,
Mhm.
because Next Level is all about figuring out what the next step is taking action. We have a lot of thoughts, we have a lot of dreams, but we do not take action. And so in order to get from where you are to where you want to be, you have to be intentional about not delaying occupancy, not delaying it. And one of the first articles that we began to work on for the magazine was centered around my divorce, because you were there during that
I remember
whole
those
time
days
period.
very well. Well, that's when all this started.
Yeah,
that's when this started.
That was the start of it. I had fallen myself. Because of a series of events, as you say, I had found myself in a pit. And I remember those first days just wondering, like, how did I get here and what's next? Like, how do I get out of this?
Right.
And I remember God saying to me, what do you want to be? Who do you want to be on the other side of this? And I had no plan. I remember, you remember those days.
You formulated your plan right in front of me.
Like,
right in front of me. The plan starts to unfold. And I remember I would have like a little boop, and I'd say it, and it would resonate. And that's when these conversations started.
Yeah, and we begin to manifest in a
we were brainstorming.
We really were, and seeing it. And the more you talk about it, the more you visualize it, the more you can see it. Because I always say, you got to see it before you see it, or you never will see it.
No, that
you have to be able to
100%.
see it.
Yes.
And as I talk about in the article, a plan saved my life. Questions begin to come up, like, okay, well, what does a not bitter you look like? What does a free and happy you look like? Well, I had no point of reference. You had no point of reference.
No, but I'm going to interject
yourself out.
That I think that's a lot of people's problem, is you have this vague, nebulous idea, oh, I'd sure like to be happy, or I'd like to have a better car, but you've got to actually know what that person looks like. And this is one of the most valuable things I think that you latched onto, is that do not delay occupancy. What do I want to do? How am I going to get there? And you don't have to have any grandiose plan. Go ahead.
No, because I did.
No.
I really did.
How to survive this day.
Every
and
day.
Not be irritated.
Every day, even as you would, because we've talked about you pulling yourself out of your pit, in pit of depression and all the different types of things. Every day was a new day, and every day was about surviving that day. What do I want this day to look like? What do I want this moment to look like? And really seeing it. And the more we saw it, I remember these moments so vivid, and we still have them. I mean, that's how we're here right now. We still have them. But God takes your little bit, and then he just begins to expound it. And all of a sudden you're like, oh wow. Right. Like right now, we're actually doing it.
Yes.
We're actually doing it.
Yes.
We talked about this podcast.
We did.
Remember?
We did.
I came in one morning and I said, and I think this was back in 2018 or something.
Oh, it was a long time ago.
I said, Tania, we should do a podcast. And you're so funny. You're so nutty. You said, okay, sure. Well, what are we going to call it? We're like, what are we going to call it? Well, I don't know. But we'll just talk. Well, what are we going to talk about? I don't know. We'll talk about manifestation. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about that.
Well, we knew we'd have no shortage of
conversations.
Yes. No shortage.
But it started then, and we've taken, and it has morphed.
Oh, yes.
It has gone over a lot of different journeys and here and there, and that's what happens. But even then, that was getting me out of the pit that I was in. That was putting dirt, as we talk about. That was putting dirt.
Yes.
Because you're digging.
No, I get it.
But
I know what
sometimes you're a girl and you're like, I don't want my nails to get dirty. Don't look at my nails, because I obviously do not care, because I'm not that girl with the nails. But the more you take action in some regard, the more dirt is being shoveled in, and the higher you're coming. The higher you're coming, until one day, like I did like I was saying in the article, until one day you're just like, I'm free. I'm out.
I love
I'm living.
I love it.
Or tell them about the lemonade thing that's on the counter.
Well, there's a million things you should do to not delay occupancy.
True.
But you have to have the right aesthetic. And I remember, well, I'm going to tell the lemonade thing in 1 second, but I remember when everything was just terrible. The house was literally falling apart, but I had a new screen cover on a vent in my house. And I would walk down the hall and see that, and I'd be like, look at that. That new vent cover.
Something, you got to grab hold of something.
Yeah. Now, I have a crystal pitcher that I make lemonade or tea in, put it on my counter. It just looks really bougie. It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel happy. Now, are my baseboards filthy? Yes. But that...
You gonna tell the people live that your baseboards are filthy?
My baseboards. I want them to be clean, but
well,
I'm delaying occupancy on that.
Well, yeah. It's okay. It's okay. Because there's so many areas in my life right now that I am straight up delaying occupancy on.
Yes.
But we are still making moves. And
yes.
the whole point of this is, even with this and where we are right now in our life.
Mm-hmm.
I was a young girl, grew up I started out in the projects and then moved to Cedar Hill. Just a challenging background. Never would have visualized, never would have thought that I would be here today doing this, editor of a magazine, and all the things that God has allowed me to do,
right,
and all the people that God has allowed me to meet. But I remember in some of the darkest days of my life growing up, God just constantly saying, there's more, there's more, there's more. And when you're in that pit and you're in those dark spaces, you can't see more, but he'll give you a glimpse. It may be a cart at Neiman Marcus.
Right.
It may be, for me, I'm a dreamer. So I would see things in dreams.
You are a dreamer.
And then begin to move towards those things that I don't know if it, at the beginning, I'm like, I don't know where that came from.
Well, he was rooting for you to get out of that pit, because he knew that once you had raised yourself out of the pit with his assistance, that this would be possible to help so many people.
And
people need
a
clue.
Yeah, you never know. You never know what the things that you're going through, how they're going to benefit others. You're just in a survival mode.
Well, that's the whole basis for Next Level.
Yeah.
Is I've been through that. I'm going to blurt this out, and that's going to help you.
Yeah, and you do with it whatever you need to do with it. But this is how it helped me.
Right.
A plan helped change my life. Visualization helped change your life.
Right.
Get you from where you were to where you wanted to go.
Yes.
And the main thing is, which we really do say all the time, we need to follow our advice a little bit more. Not delaying occupancy.
Right.
Not delaying being and doing what it is that you visualize, you desire yourself to do. You can't wait until you gotta go.
You have to do things on a consistent basis every day. Do things that make you believe that has happened. And that's what the lemonade does, and that's what looking at a model home does. I had a floor plan of a house that I really loved. I would visualize that in my mind, walking in that house, and the feelings of euphoria.
Yeah.
That it's clean and not falling apart, that sort of thing.
And
now, yes,
we've manifested that.
Yes,
thing.
and I manifested you.
Well,
I did. I find that to be so fascinating. Out of all the places I could have ever landed, it was with you. And then just in a few years, this whole thing happened, and I thought, Shawnte, there she is. She is, and we've talked about that a lot of times too. We have,
and the beauty about our relationship and things that we do is we are going to give you guys over the next couple of months as we do these chats with Tania, just kind of give you guys an insight on how we bring things about, because these conversations start articles. We pick a topic, or we start talking about a topic, and then all of a sudden it has just evolved into, let's write that down. Let's write that down. Because these are good points. These are, as when I was first going through my divorce, I remember you recall this, I remember, I need a book that tells you how to live every day because I'm angry.
Yes.
And I have all of these emotions. Somebody needs to tell me how to do this every single day. And I remember God was like, well, write the book. Write the story that you want to read. And different things
I remember
like
that day. I remember that day because you were a big journaler.
Yeah.
And then I kept thinking, and you kept saying, turn that into a book. That can be a book right there. And it's
and now here we are. I've written a book or written one, working on the rest of them.
Yes.
But it's also phenomenal. And God is so phenomenal with the way that he works and constructs things in our life. It's so interesting. And as you said, none of it is a coincidence.
Right.
This is all intentional. Intentional in meeting people, intentional in these relationships, intentional in these situations. Even the pit that you may find yourself in, it's not unusual. It's not a coincidence. Mm-hmm. It's for a purpose. And it's for a purpose, not just for you, but so that you can bless somebody else. And so I love this. And that's what Next Level is all about. It's about taking the place that you're in and sharing your story, sharing how you got out of the pit, how you dug your way out of your situation and got to the other side. These are literally conversations from the other side.
They are. Every issue has pertinent, meaningful pathways out of a certain situation.
Yeah.
A variety of situations answered by women who've really already done it.
Yeah.
They've blazed the trail for you. This is what worked for them. Maybe it'll work for you too.
Yeah. Or at least give you some inspired action.
Yes, inspired action.
Inspired action. We're going to do a whole podcast on that. Inspired action, because that is extremely essential. And that's what listening to the word does. That's the reason why it's so important that you read and you be intentional about learning. I want to thank you for joining us. For joining me and chatting with me today. And I think our audience they're gonna be blessed so much by the things that we're gonna be sharing. And we are so looking forward to connecting with you guys here at Next Level and sharing stories of amazing women on their journey of recovery, their journey of digging themselves out of the pit, how they manifested business owners, mothers, just all sorts of women in all walks of life.
Every situation imaginable covered.
Between the magazine, the podcast, we're just, this is your community. Right. And we're just trying to help you have inspired action as you take your next step. Thank you guys for joining us on today.
I feel a wave coming on.